Welcome to Slapshot Podcast, episode number 103. I'm your host, Christopher Morais. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Why don't you just grab a chair, make yourself comfortable, get yourself a beverage of choice. We got a lot of hockey to talk about. Right before the Olympic break, we got a lot of stuff we got to get to. So many things have been happening around the NHL. We just waited until they always wait until I'm ready to submit the podcast episode. Once I got it scheduled, they're like, "Hey, let's change everything. Let's get it all different. Let's force me to do it again." Right? But that's okay. Listen, there's some stuff that's been happening. If you're not keeping up, don't worry. We will do the breaking news that you may have missed since the last episode. We're going to talk about some very important things happening in the NHL. Also some stuff not happening in the NHL. But listen, first things first, if you have found yourself in here by accident, I appreciate you. Found yourself over here on YouTube, go ahead, hit the sub button, ring the bell. All right. You are listening to this on your favorite platform. Maybe it's Spotify. Maybe it's Apple Podcasts. I appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe there. Drop the podcast a like. You ought to follow me. You can do that as well. You can follow me on X at FuzzyChris91. Follow the podcast as well on X at Slapshot Podcast. Listen, so many great places to keep up with the podcast as well. Instagram, TikTok. I mean, where else are you going to see me say mean things to every other fan base possible? Right? That's where you can get it. But listen, I don't want to delay this any longer because we got stuff to do here today. Let's get to some breaking news. All right? Or stuff that you may have missed since the last episode. This one just hit. Part of it did. So we all knew that Brayden Point was a little bit banged up, whether he was going to be able to go to the Olympics or not. He is not going to the Olympics. Brayden Point, Anthony Cirelli are not going to the Olympics. Seth Jarvis is going. He will be replacing Brayden Point. We already knew Sam Bennett was replacing Cirelli. So two returning players from the Four Nations are heading to the Olympics. This is a big win, I think, for Seth Jarvis. Listen, the loss of Brayden Point is tough. Okay, I know he was having a down season, but it's still a tough loss. This is a tough loss as well for John Cooper, two of his boys. It sounds like they probably could have pushed through it, but didn't want to do that. And instead let other players who were part of that team that went to the Four Nations and won gold. Jarvis is a great all-around player. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Sam Bennett going as well for Cirelli. Maybe this forces John Cooper to use Nick Suzuki a little bit more, maybe kill penalties, something like that. But I'm thinking about a lot. Like, you imagine Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, and Tom Wilson, like one line. Also, I'm trying to find it. If you do, I want to know what the odds are on maybe not Sam Bennett, on Tom Wilson getting suspended. Or at least getting a 5-minute major for something that's not fighting. I would take the over on the Tom Wilson suspension. I can't find the odds. But if somebody does, please send it my way. Because, man, unrelated, but Tom Wilson, I forget who he was playing, dropped another, just full contact basically to the head. And we know IIHF officiating and Olympic officiating is black and white. It's terrible. It's the worst, but it is the worst all around. It's consistently terrible. And I'm a little bit worried about what Tom Wilson might do. I am. I'm very worried. So, anyways, good for Seth Jarvis. Good for Sam Bennett. I don't think it's a massive downgrade. I think those are very capable players, and they will play a role here for Canada. So, but again, I had Seth Jarvis on the team to start. I'm happy he made it. It's unfortunate that Brayden Point can't, but I'm very happy that Seth Jarvis made it. Some other bad news-ish. Jonathan Huberdeau is going to miss the remainder of the season. He is having hip surgery. That's not good. He's having the same, I think it's hip shaving that they call it. This is the same surgery that Patrick Kane and John Klingberg had. Now, I'm no doctor, but that's not good. Huberdeau wanted to play one more game. He scored in that game for the Flames against the Oilers. His 2026 is off to a rough start. This is the I don't know what to do. Well, I don't think it really matters for me. I don't know what the Flames do with him. The Flames should be sellers now because they're not a playoff team. But the the fall off for Huberdeau after that one season in Florida needs to be studied in a lab, man. I get that it's Calgary, and I get that nobody was thinking he would go back to that level. But it just feels like everything that, maybe not everything, I just feel like it didn't work out in Calgary. Am I saying that right? It just, the play style, I don't think favors him. I don't know, man. I don't know if we ever see him get back to like a point per game player. Like even that, like that's long gone from now. He doesn't shoot the puck, doesn't really rack up a ton of points. Like he's just there making 11 mil. So it's unfortunate. Let's see if this helps Huberdeau. Maybe this has been slowing him down. Maybe this is what he needed, but tough break for Huberdeau. Tough break as well for the Flames. More news here, this time coming out of Nashville. Barry Trotz is stepping down as the general manager of the Nashville Predators. I think listen, Barry Trotz was a fantastic coach. Fantastic, right? I don't think anybody's taken that away from him. But his tenure as GM, probably one of the worst. And I don't think many people would disagree with me. The Nashville Predators have not been good. He went out that summer, and remember when he went out and got Brady Shea and Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos. Like, Steven Stamkos has been turning it around a little bit here. He seems to have found, I was going to say lightning in a bottle, but like, is that offensive to him or Preds fans? I don't know, but it's no pun intended. That's what I'll say there. But it hasn't gone well for Barry. Now, he is going to stick around. He is going to handle the trade deadline. He's going to be in position until they find a successor for him, and he's saying that he's retiring. And I'm like, buddy, you walked in here, took the job, left an absolute mess, and then you're like, yeah, man, I'm out of here. Good luck. Tough. Again, Barry Trotz will be remembered as a fantastic coach, at least in my mind, but you might want the Men in Black, the little thing there to help you forget. I think you may want to do that to a lot of Nashville fans in his GM tenure because it did not work out. So that's unfortunate. We're gonna end here as well with a little bit of a downer. So an Alberta junior hockey team. Let's make sure I get the name right here correctly. I think the team was called. Give me a second. I want to get this right. So yes, the Mustangs, the Alberta Junior League. Unfortunately, 3 players passed away in a car accident on their way to practice. Caden Fine being one of the players, JJ Wright and Cameron Kasorsko. It's unfortunate, right? You never want to see young lives be lost, especially in hockey, right? Like this is something nobody could have really controlled. We don't have a ton of details. It's still unfortunate, and of course, thoughts and prayers to those young men's, families, friends, the entire league, the team, the Southern Alberta Mustangs. Just that's tough, man. It's tough. So didn't want it to be a downer here, but that is sad, and yeah, it's sad. So think about them. Give them all your thoughts and your prayers in a moment. Hockey is a community, whether you know the other person or not. We all enjoy playing the same game, and it's sad when one, unfortunately, or in this case, 3 don't make it. So That is unfortunate. All right, that's a little bit of the news. We have two more things that we're going to cover in detail here. I couldn't pick just one, and I didn't want to make this a short one. Okay, let's start with Gavin McKenna, because this is wild. Okay, to say the least. When I saw this tweet go by, and I was like, I'm sorry, what did he do? My first thought was obviously absolute panic. I was like, oh no, man, what did Gavin do? Right? So if you're not following, Gavin McKenna, right, is projected to be the first overall pick, right, 2026 at the draft, right? He's playing at Penn State. He got himself into a little bit of trouble. And when I say a little bit, kind of a lot of it, okay? If you haven't seen it, I'm going to show it to you here, okay? So he was arrested, okay? And you're saying, well, Chris, what for? This is I don't know what this is, but it's off the criminal docket that you can find on the website for like people who get arrested. I'm missing all these legal terms. Listen, I'm not a lawyer, okay? I am an internet lawyer. I've done a lot of looking, okay? But here's what the internet has helped us find. So Gavin McKenna was out with his family. I think this was for a team event, okay? So they were gathering post-game. This was last Saturday at Doggy's Pub, okay? And it was a team event. An individual that was not unrelated to the team, right, started harassing, again, this is all allegedly, harassing a member of McKenna's family, which it sounds like from people that were close there was his mom. Okay, so McKenna's there. He's got some family. Sounds like there was a little bit of an altercation inside. Probably some words were being said, right? As they probably should have been. But it sounds like there was a drunk 21-year-old who said some inappropriate things about Gavin McKenna's mom. So it, again, sounds like things were a little bit de-escalated, right? Gavin was asked to leave, I think. And on the way out, the drunk followed him. And another altercation outside. Sounds like it was verbal. And then Gavin took some swings. Some pretty big swings. Literal fist swings. So he broke this kid's jaw. Okay. In 3 places. This person then suffered a concussion and lost 3 teeth. Now, again, that is per the internet. Okay. So let's take a moment here. But man, that's one way to do it. This also confirms that hockey players can fight, because I'm not looking at McKenna going, hey, this guy can drop him. No. But to take some swings, it sounds like it was more than one, and break someone's jaw. Like, now, I will say this, because the internet is the worst place you can be on. I'm not defending. As a person who has gone in exactly 0 bar fights in his life, and I tend probably going to keep that number at 0, right? I'm not really the guy who's going to go out there and fight. I'm not very big either. It usually doesn't end well, okay? I'm not condoning the actions of Gavin McKenna, okay? You should not resort to violence, or at least try to de-escalate it. You want to be the bigger person, and you want to walk away, okay? Now, having said that, if I'm out somewhere with my mom and you repeat and you say the derogatory term that was said to her, WHORE, I'm not going to, I don't know if YouTube would like hit me if I say it. So, but if you said that to my mom and I was in the vicinity where I could hear it, listen, I would take a swing. I would. Okay. I'm not a very violent person in life. But if you said some derogatory terms to like my mom, my dad, my sister, my dog, I'll take a swing. I will. That's a little bit of liquid courage here for a 21-year-old that got drunk. And, you could blame toxic hockey culture and all that stuff and whatever. I'm not going to get onto that because that's neither here nor there. It's your opinion. I am of the opinion that, listen, maybe this is toxic bar culture because this man had a little bit too much to drink. Sometimes people forget that the real world is not like the internet, right? You can't just say things. I mean, you can if you want, but sometimes there are consequences. And again, this isn't a right or wrong kind of thing because sometimes we forget in society two things can be wrong at the same time. Should Gavin McKenna have punched this kid's jaw and broken it? Probably not. Should this drunk have said what he did to McKenna's mom allegedly? No. So all this put together has led McKenna to be in some hot water. Now, on the surface, I was like, well, it can't be that bad. But again, after doing some digging, I am now an internet lawyer, specifically with additional knowledge on the U.S. court system or penal code, whatever the word is. But he got himself. This is wild. So he has been charged here with aggravated assault, a felony. Now, I didn't know what this was until I started, but a felony aggravated assault, right, which is the first charge there, F1, that carries up to 20 years behind bars, by the way. And I was like, excuse me? Now, it's aggravated assault, attempts to cause serious bodily injury or causes injury with extreme indifference. I can see how, yeah, that makes sense, right? He was also charged with a misdemeanor, which is simple assault, okay? And then he's got two other ones here. What do we call them? Summary offenses. One of them is disorderly conduct, engaging in a fight, harassment, subject to other physical contact. So it sounds like the summary offenses, these ones probably seem like they're, 2-minute minor. You know what I mean? Disorderly conduct, harassment. You're like, hey, don't do that. Stop. Grow up. All right. A 2-minute minor, right? A simple assault, you're like, listen, it's a 5-minute major. You know what I mean? But here's the problem, is the felony. Because the felony is like a hit from behind. You're getting a 5-minute major in a game misconduct and an in-person hearing with the NHL. Now, obviously, he does not have his court date, I think, is next week, right? To kind of, I guess, see how he pleads, which I'm assuming is not guilty. I don't think he's going to jail for 20 years, right? Like, there's more stuff that's got to come out. Videos got to come out, right? Some key witnesses, kind of see what happened. But again, if the story is true, and it's 21-year-old mouthing off at Gavin, saying things about his mom, again, I'm not saying you punch him in the face, but I guarantee you one thing, that kid's not going to mouth off again to a stranger ever again. You know what I mean? He effed around and he found out, right? Now, this will probably be a learning experience for McKenna, and I say that, yeah, duh. Like, maybe this guy who's 21 and drunk knows who you are and he's looking for a payday. You got to have thicker skin, Gavin, okay? Because people are going to say things to you, and they're going to try to get under your skin, whether they're right or wrong, okay? Like, if this was just two random dudes, it probably wouldn't even matter, right? It wouldn't matter. Nobody would know. But because it's a potential first overall pick in the NHL, it kind of matters, right? You're going to be in the public spotlight a lot, and not everybody's nice. Not everybody's nice. So sometimes you got to swallow it and say, hey, I'm not going to let words get under my skin or hurt, right? On an ice rink, I think it's different, right? Guy on the ice says something, you want to settle it with your fist, okay. But man, just absolute howitzer to the jaw and breaking it and causing some teeth to miss. Literally spitting chiclets, which he was on. I think it was last week's episode. Gavin McKenna was on it. That is wild. But yeah, not great timing, Gavin. But we'll see how this plays out. But I don't know if he's going to be doing any prison. Maybe he gets off with some like community service. Maybe we bring it down from aggravated assault. Maybe it's a misdemeanor. Maybe some probation. Right? Maybe all the charges get dropped. But that's, again, I'm no lawyer. I'm just an internet lawyer. I learned pretty quickly. I didn't even know how serious a felony one was. So, you learn something new. You learn something new every day. That was for Gavin. Let's get to what I wanted to talk about, which this story it just disappeared a little bit. So, not last week's episode, because we talked about Brendan Gallagher, who, by the way, had 3 points against the Jets. Remember when I said we should be respecting him? Thank you. This was more for Artemi Panarin. Remember, we tried to find him a new home, and we had some ideas, right? Well, Artemi Panarin has a new home, and that is in Los Angeles. So the New York Rangers traded him to the Los Angeles Kings. The LA Kings paid basically peanuts, a prospect and a pick, a conditional pick. And then LA signed him for 2 years, $11 million. So he basically doesn't even take a pay decrease. He leaves a dumpster fire that is in New York. And then as it came out, we kind of understood a little bit more why the return was so bad. So obviously Panarin had a full no-move clause, and he put that one to use because his agent told agent told Drury, said, hey, the only place I'm willing to go is LA. They had entertained, I think, a couple of other places because there were, some rumors about where he may have, teams that Chris Drury may have talked to. Washington being one, I think. I believe San Jose was the other. But they were like, no, we're not doing that. Like, apparently the ask was like Will Smith and like Ryan Leonard. And I could imagine both those teams going, okay, bud. Yeah, sure. Go away. Nothing really came out of the Florida-Tampa Bay kind of conversation. Anaheim, San Jose, right? So it sounds like the Kings were willing to give him at least some money. And a 2-year deal is very team-friendly as well. Because this one got me good. Listen, I understand there are some places you want to be more than others. Okay? Listen, he played in LA. He played it in New York. Now he's going to LA. It's an okay life, but it sounds like the Seattle Kraken were like, hey, we'll take him and we'll give him some money. So they were willing to give him 4 years, allegedly, per Friedge, right? Elliot Friedman. 4 years at higher than $14 million a year, okay? Now, remember how we talk about all these places in the United States where you don't pay income tax? Seattle, Washington is one of those places. I didn't know. You learn something new every day. Now I'm a tax expert, an internet tax expert. Because remember how we keep talking about, Florida, how you pay no state income tax, and Tennessee, and players keep flocking there. Well, apparently it doesn't matter in Seattle. Because Artemi Panarin was like, I ain't going there. Now, I get maybe living life in Seattle is maybe not as cool, but NHL players love money. And he looked at money and went, no, I'm not going to Seattle. Probably could have helped Seattle a little bit. But right off the rip here, the Kraken are an organization where even if you pay players, they don't want to go. And that says a lot about the team and management and what players around the league think of them. Or at least Panarin. Because even overpaying, they're like, no, where you can keep more money. Let's face it, now he's going to LA, California, which apparently has high income tax. Again, according to the internet. So he was willing to be like, yeah, it's fine, man. I'll go play in LA. I do not want to go to Seattle. I mean, maybe we've been spoiled with how the Vegas Golden Knights have run their franchise. But Seattle, man, figure it out. I don't know what's got to happen there. But if you can't attract players by paying them more money in a state where no income tax is collected, man, tough sell, huh? Tough sell. So the LA Kings get their player. The New York Rangers, we don't care. We don't care about them, right? Watching them burn it brings a tear to my eye, truly, of happiness. We know they are retooling, but if you're not getting anything back, are you really retooling though? Like, you just gave Panarin away, basically. I get that that's all you could get. I also don't know if it did the team any good to publicly come out with a letter and then publicly say, yeah, listen, Panarin, we're just not keeping you. Because it sounds like on the way out, Breadman did them no favors. He's just like, hey, this is where I want to go, and that's it. Okay. Were there better offers on the table somewhere else? Probably. And Chris Drury was strapped because Panarin's like, this is the only place I want to go. That return is pretty bad. They even got the Rangers to retain 50% of that money, right? Like, he's a pending UFA. But to help facilitate him under the cap, they're like, hey, we'll also hold money. That's wild, man. That's wild. So, what does this LA Kings forward group now look like? Listen, I'm glad you asked, right? I'm glad you asked. Here it is. So, this is how I would structure them. Now, it doesn't sound like Panarin is going to play before the break. I don't think he's playing tonight, which is Thursday. That's what day we are. Now, does Artemi Panarin help the LA Kings down the middle? No. Okay, that I think we understand here. Kopitar is retiring at the end of the year, right? Quentin Byfield, offensively not there. Alexis Laferriere is not. Like, they still need help down the middle, and I get that. But at the same time, the LA Kings have been one of the better defensive teams in the NHL. And I am shocked. I knew they were good, but I didn't know they were like top 5 good. And that's saying along from a team that has Joel Edmondson on it and Cody Ceci and old man Drew Doughty. This team seems to have, they're playing the right system defensively. The goaltending's been good, but they can't score. Man, it's bad. This team is not committed to offense. So bringing in Artemi Panarin gives them another weapon that maybe helps everybody else get going. Because Adrian Kempe can't do it alone. Even his shot volume this year, from a fantasy perspective, has not been good. The numbers have not been great. So I have Panarin playing on that top line. Maybe you switch him around and you find a good home for him somewhere, right? Maybe you move him down to play with Byfield and Kuzmenko. But this solves one of the many problems for the LA Kings. This is also a Pacific Division that is wide open, okay? How wide open? Like, the Vegas Golden Knights, I think they lost like 6 out of 7 games, and they were still in first spot in their division heading into last night. I mean, look, the Edmonton Oilers, if you listen to Leon Draisaitl's presser after the loss to, was it the loss to Calgary? I forget which one it was, but he was not happy. I think that's safe to say. Yes, it was against Calgary. He was not happy. He was not a happy camper. He had some things to say about goalies needing to make saves, about, playing better defense, and it starts with the coach. And you're like, buddy, you're saying a lot of things that maybe you don't want to say in front of the camera, but listen, he's honest, right? There's a lot of open space. The Anaheim Ducks are fun, but they're not good defensively either. The San Jose Sharks are who they are. This is a wide open division, okay? And the Kings the last couple of years keep getting throttled by the Oilers. So if a good defensive team is a good starting point. But hockey is about putting the puck in the net. And Artemi Panarin helps you do that, right? He is an 85-plus point player. I know he's not 22, but he's producing at 34, and he comes to a team where I don't know if he has to be that guy, but he's part of a team that can help. He is part of a team where he can have some assistance. You have some good veteran presence already. This is an older team as well. Everybody knows a little bit about what they're doing. They need help offensively. They have a guy for that now. And it allows the rest of those players to kind of set in. Like, that bottom six is not terrible. Having Yoel Armia and Corey Perry, Trevor Moore kind of lets everybody settle into where they need to be. There's still, like I said, there's still some holes. Maybe, there's more to be added to this squad, right? Maybe Kenny Holland goes out and says, okay, we need more. But this was a big swing. And it didn't cost much for the Kings. It still did it when they re-signed him, right? It's a 2-year deal. So I don't know. If next year it's not working out and you want to move on from him again, like, you can, right? Because he'll have 1 year left on his deal, which means you're not selling him as a rental. So maybe you can get better return than what the Rangers got. But this is a good ad from a fantasy perspective. Again, it's the Ranger. Like, he's not going to a much better offensive team, but he's leaving the Rangers that were horrendous. And he's coming to a division where, there are some goals that can be scored in the Pacific. Lots of goals, actually. A ton. So this is the outlook on his fantasy perspective is positive. I would say that. This is a win for the Kings if they truly want to go get it. They're built from the back end out, right? And that's okay. We thought this was going to be a one-and-done year for Darcy Kemper. He's been good. Give Kenny Holland the credit he deserves. I wasn't sure. I still think, Jim Hiller at the helm of this team is strapping this team down. But if you win games playing a certain way, it's hard to criticize after that. We'll have to see how this team does in the playoffs. We'll have to see how the next couple of weeks go after the break. But this was a fantastic deal for the LA Kings. Kudos to them. It's good for the fan base, right? Another big name coming to LA. Going to help the Kings for sure. And again, listen, what do you want from the Rangers? Maybe when you have poor relationships with players, they kind of don't do you a solid on the way out, right? Like, you saw Drury, the way he handled Trouba, and how he handled Kreider and all those kind of things. Now it's like, oh, we're retooling. But I know a lot of Ranger fans want Drury to be gone. It doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. But yeah, again, if you want to retool, fine, but you got to get something back. The third round pick is conditional, which means it becomes a second. I think if they win one playoff round, okay. You couldn't try to push more, knowing that you were retaining money as well to do this. I'm not very familiar with the prospect that they got there. I don't even know his name. I didn't check. But again, it's not great, Bob. Right? It's hard to retool. It's hard to replenish, right? And bring guys in and make your team better if you're not bringing anything in and you're just liquidating assets for nothing. So tough one for the Rangers, but again, I'm not crying for that franchise, man. I know it's been a while since Chris Kreider ran into Carey Price, but as they say in French, je me souviens. So good for them. I don't care. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is the podcast for this week. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me here. Couple of housekeeping notes, okay? Because I want you to pay attention. All right? Pay attention with me as the music goes out. We will do one more episode. That'll come to you on Wednesday next week before Canada drops the puck, the men at the Olympics. All right. We're going to break down the Olympic bracket, where I think every team's going to finish, who's going to win gold, all that fun jazz. All right. We're going to take a look at that. That is on Wednesday. What's the date here? I know this is really, it's riveting stuff. It's on a Wednesday. That'll be the 11th of February. All right. So again, I appreciate you all hanging out with me here. You made it to the end. Thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the sub button, ring the bell. I appreciate it. If you're listening, drop a follow there. Rate, subscribe to the podcast. Follow me on X at FuzzyChris91. Follow the podcast on X at Slapshot Podcast. I appreciate all of you hanging out with me here. It's been a blast. We'll see each other next week. All right.